It was meant to be their final trip before life got in the way. Tyler Morrison, Josh Chen, and Eliza Santos had been inseparable since meeting during a high school environmental science field trip to Mount Spokane. What started as shared detention for sneaking off the designated trail had blossomed into an 8-year friendship built on weekend adventures and shared dreams of exploring the Pacific Northwest's most remote corners. But September 2015 was different. Tyler had been accepted to graduate school at UC Berkeley. Josh had landed his dream job with a tech startup in Seattle. And Eliza was headed to Colorado for a wildlife biology program that would keep her in the field for months at a time. The realization hit them during what they thought would be just another ordinary Friday night at Murphy's Diner on Sprague Avenue. Between bites of pie and lukewarm coffee, the conversation turned melancholy. Their weekly hiking tradition was about to end. "We need one last adventure," Josh had said. "Something we'll remember when we're old and boring." That's when Eliza mentioned something she'd overheard at the outdoor gear shop where she worked. A conversation between two locals about a trail that most people didn't even know existed anymore. "Wildermere Trail," she said, her eyes lighting up. "It's been closed since 2002, but the wilderness is still accessible if you know where to look." The trail had been a hidden gem among serious hikers in the 1990s, offering stunning views of untouched wilderness in northeastern Washington. But a massive rockslide had destroyed a crucial ridge section in 2002, making the route too dangerous for public access. The spontaneous decision was made over dessert. They would leave Saturday morning, hike in, camp overnight, and hike back out Sunday. Simple, memorable, and completely theirs. Saturday morning arrived crisp and clear. They met at Tyler's apartment at 6 a.m., gear spread across his living room floor. Tyler had his new GoPro Hero 4, purchased specifically for documenting their final trip together. Josh unpacked his DJI Phantom 3 drone, eager to test it in the wilderness. But it was Eliza who impressed them most with her preparation. Her signature red Osprey backpack was packed with military precision. First aid kit, water purification tablets, emergency shelter, rope, multi-tool, and the satellite phone that would prove so crucial to the mystery that followed. "This thing can reach emergency services from anywhere on the continent," she said, holding up the black, bulky device. "Full battery, crystal clear signal. If we get into trouble, help is just a call away." They loaded Tyler's Honda CR-V and headed east on Highway 2 as the sun painted the mountains in shades of gold and pink. The drive took them deep into the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest, where pavement gave way to gravel and civilization faded into memory. Cell phone signal disappeared entirely around mile marker 47. The old trailhead was exactly as described, a small gravel pullout overgrown with blackberry bushes. And there, partially hidden by decades of vegetation, stood the weather-worn wooden sign that would later become famous. "No entry. Dangerous conditions." Josh immediately pulled out his drone for atmospheric footage, while Tyler started recording with his GoPro. That's when they took the selfie, the one that would later appear on missing person posters and true crime documentaries. Tyler held his phone at arm's length, capturing all three of them laughing at the trailhead, with that ominous sign clearly visible in the background. The timestamp read 10:47 a.m., September 21st, 2015. They shouldered their packs and disappeared into the forest. The first hour felt like stepping back in time. Despite 13 years of neglect, the path remained surprisingly clear. Dappled sunlight filtered through the canopy, their footsteps soft on decades of accumulated pine needles. Josh flew his drone periodically, capturing sweeping footage of untouched wilderness stretching in every direction. "Miles and miles without a single sign of human presence," he called out during a break. "We might be the first people to see this place in years." Around noon, they reached the infamous rockslide. The trail simply ended at a massive field of broken granite and twisted metal, remnants of guardrails that had once made this section safe. The slide zone stretched for several hundred yards, with no obvious way around. But Eliza found an alternative, a narrow, steep route that skirted the rockslide by climbing higher up the mountainside. Someone had clearly been maintaining this unofficial path, clearing fallen branches and moving loose rocks aside. "We've come this far," Eliza said, already starting up the improvised route. "And look at that view." From their elevated position, they could see for miles across untouched wilderness. Rolling hills covered in dense forest, distant peaks touched with early snow, and not a single sign of human development. Against his better judgment, Tyler continued filming as they navigated the unofficial route. The footage would later be crucial for search teams, though it would raise as many questions as it answered. By mid-afternoon, they had successfully bypassed the rockslide and found themselves in truly pristine wilderness. They were discussing where to make camp when they stumbled upon what could only be described as the perfect spot. A small meadow surrounded by towering pines, with a clear stream running along one edge and views of distant mountains. "This is unreal," Josh said, launching his drone to capture the location from above. "It's like something out of a fairy tale." The campsite was so perfect it seemed impossible no other hikers had discovered it during the 13 years since the trail's closure. A level spot for their tent with natural wind protection, the stream perfectly positioned for water, and natural seating around an existing fire ring. As evening approached, they settled into the comfortable rhythm of experienced campers. Tyler documented everything with his GoPro, capturing golden hour light and relaxed conversations around their campfire. Josh flew his drone one final time, getting stunning sunset footage that showed no other signs of human presence for miles. Eliza checked her satellite phone before settling in. Full signal strength, full battery, emergency services accessible with the press of a button. "We're probably safer than most people in the city," she joked. They fell asleep under a canopy of brilliant stars. The last audio on any of their devices was recorded at 11:43 p.m. Quiet conversation and crackling embers. Then silence. When the trio failed to return by Monday evening, their families weren't immediately concerned. But by Tuesday morning, when none showed up for work or school, alarm bells began ringing. The first search and rescue team reached the trailhead Wednesday morning. They found Tyler's Honda CR-V exactly where it had been left, unlocked, with extra supplies still visible through the windows. SAR coordinator Margaret Walsh, a 20-year veteran, described the initial search as routine but puzzling. The team followed the old trail easily, finding footprints and the occasional piece of litter that matched what the family said the hikers typically carried. But when searchers reached the rockslide area, they encountered their first major obstacle. It took 6 hours to locate and navigate the unofficial path the hikers had documented with Tyler's GoPro. Beyond that point, evidence became frustratingly sparse. "It was like they just vanished," said search team member David Park. "We found the perfect campsite, evidence of a recent fire, disturbed ground where a tent had been set up. But no gear, no people, no indication of what happened next." By Thursday, the search had expanded to include helicopters, K-9 units, and specialized rescue teams. The pristine meadow campsite became the center of a grid search covering over 50 square miles. The evidence painted a picture of a normal camping experience that had ended inexplicably. The fire ring contained appropriate ashes. Compressed grass showed where tent and sleeping bags had been arranged. Even buried food scraps indicated proper leave no trace practices. But that was all. No equipment, no clothing, no signs of struggle. The campsite looked as if 3 experienced hikers had simply packed up and walked away, except they never walked out. Helicopter searches revealed the true challenge facing rescuers. Beyond the meadow, wilderness became a maze of steep ravines, dense forest, and unmapped terrain from the 1970s. K-9 teams found traces of human scent extending in multiple directions, but trails faded after a few hundred yards. Specialized cave rescue teams explored extensive limestone formations. Technical climbing teams tackled cliff faces and ravines. Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging revealed geological anomalies and animal remains, but no evidence of the missing hikers. We turned over every stone, looked behind every tree, explored every possible scenario, SAR Coordinator Walsh said. In 20 years of search and rescue, I've never encountered a case where 3 people could so completely vanish without a trace. After 6 weeks of intensive searching involving over 200 volunteers and costing nearly $500,000, Washington state authorities made the difficult decision to suspend active operations. Sheriff Robert Clayton announced the official conclusion. While we have not recovered remains, we must accept the tragic reality that Tyler Morrison, Josh Chun, and Eliza Santos likely perished in a wilderness accident. The official report listed several possible scenarios: falls from unmapped cliffs, becoming lost until succumbing to exposure, drowning in hidden creek systems, or wildlife encounters. All were plausible explanations, but privately, search team members admitted the case defied conventional explanations. Usually you find something, one veteran searcher said anonymously. Equipment, torn clothing, some sign of where things went wrong. This time we found nothing. It's like they were never there at all. The families refused to give up hope. They organized monthly volunteer searches, hired private teams, and maintained a reward fund that eventually grew to $50,000. Years passed. The story faded from headlines. The families learned to live with uncertainty. And then, in October 2018, everything changed. Cameron Rodriguez and Lexi Thompson were weekend warriors from Seattle, experienced off-trail hikers exploring unmarked wilderness several miles from any official trail. On Saturday, October 13, 2018, they were following a creek drainage when they encountered something extraordinary. An area of perhaps 2 acres where the forest seemed twisted by some unknown force. Pine trees that should have grown straight instead curved and spiraled, their trunks bent into impossible shapes. Some had grown in complete loops, tops pointing toward the ground. It looked like something out of a Tim Burton movie, Lexi recalled. Beautiful in a disturbing way, but definitely not natural. They spent nearly an hour exploring the strange grove when Lexi noticed something red among the branches. A splash of color that didn't belong. Hanging from a branch off the ground was a red backpack. Weather-stained and dirty, but unmistakably manufactured. They called park rangers immediately using Lexi's satellite communicator. Within hours, a helicopter had transported a search team to their remote location. Rangers confirmed what Cameron and Lexi suspected. This was Eliza Santos's distinctive red Osprey backpack, identified by the personalized luggage tag still barely legible after 3 years. But the location raised immediate questions. The grove was more than 15 miles from the campsite where the friends had last been placed, in terrain so difficult that reaching it would have required expert navigation skills and multiple days of travel. There's no reasonable explanation for how that backpack got there, said Park Ranger Maria Santos. Even if they'd gotten completely lost, this isn't a direction they would have traveled. The decision to open Eliza's backpack was made carefully, with multiple witnesses and complete documentation. What they found defied all logical expectations. The pack was completely intact. Zippers worked perfectly. Contents were dry, showing no signs of water damage despite 3 years of Pacific Northwest weather. It was as if the backpack had been hermetically sealed and recently placed, not hanging for years. Inside, rangers inventoried a LED flashlight with fully charged batteries, 2 unopened protein bars, still within expiration dates, a water bottle half full of clear, fresh water, various personal items in perfect condition, and most significantly, a satellite phone, fully charged, completely functional with no record of ever being turned on. The satellite phone was the key evidence that transformed the case from tragic accident into unsolvable mystery. Technical analysis revealed the phone had maintained its charge despite 3 years of inactivity, something that should have been impossible. This device was in perfect working condition, reported technician David Lee. Full battery, strong signal, completely functional. If someone had been in distress with access to this phone, they could have called for help immediately. But there was no record of any attempt to power it on or place calls. The satellite phone contained a GPS tracking chip. When investigators accessed the logs, they found data that made no conventional sense. The device had recorded one final location ping, September 22, 2015, at 3:41 a.m. But instead of standard coordinates, the GPS had logged something unprecedented, unknown origin. GPS technology simply doesn't work that way. Satellites provide specific coordinate data or no data at all. The concept of an unknown origin reading violates fundamental principles of GPS systems. I've been working with GPS technology for 15 years, said technical analyst Robert Kim. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if the device received a signal from somewhere that doesn't exist on any map. The timestamp was equally puzzling. 3:41 a.m. was hours after the hikers should have been asleep at their campsite. It suggested Eliza had been awake and moving in the middle of the night, or the reading was generated after they had already disappeared. Ground teams hiked to where the coordinates should have placed the phone. They found nothing unusual, just typical forest with no signs of human presence and no geological features explaining the anomalous reading. The discovery prompted comprehensive investigation of the strange grove. Botanist Dr. Jennifer Walsh analyzed the distorted trees. I've studied forest pathology for 20 years, and I've never encountered anything like this, she reported. The trees show severe stress and abnormal growth, but there's no evidence of disease, insects, or environmental factors that would explain the distortion. Soil samples revealed unusual mineral concentrations, elevated levels of rare earth elements that don't naturally occur in Pacific Northwest geology. The concentrations weren't dangerous, but were inexplicable. Geological surveys using ground-penetrating radar found no unusual underground formations. Photography experts found geometric relationships in the tree curves that seemed almost mathematical in precision, but no explanation for how such patterns could occur naturally. The trees appear to have been shaped by some force over many years, reported Dr. Mark Foster. But we can't identify what that force might have been. 1 week after the backpack recovery, Tyler's parents received a voicemail that reopened the entire case and thrust it into national headlines. Linda Morrison was at her kitchen table sorting through tips when her landline rang at 2:17 p.m. on Tuesday, October 21, 2018. The caller ID showed blocked number. She almost didn't answer. After 3 years of crank calls, the family had learned caution. But something made her pick up. She heard 3 seconds of audio that would haunt her forever. A male voice, distorted by static but unmistakably familiar. "I don't know where we are." Then silence. The call lasted exactly 3 seconds. No additional audio, no background noise, no opportunity to respond before the line went dead. But Linda was certain. The voice was Tyler's. The voicemail immediately elevated the case to federal jurisdiction. Voice recognition software confirmed Linda Morrison's identification with 97% certainty. Vocal patterns and speech characteristics matched Tyler's voice profiles. But tracing the call's origin proved impossible. The block number had been routed through multiple servers across different countries: Canada, Germany, the Philippines, before disappearing into encrypted systems the FBI couldn't penetrate. Someone with significant technical expertise deliberately obscured this call's origin, reported FBI analyst Sarah Chun. The level of sophistication suggests either state-level resources or extremely advanced civilian capabilities. Even more mysteriously, the phone number had never existed. The telecommunications company had no record of issuing it, and attempts to call back resulted in number not in service messages. Audio analysis revealed Tyler was likely in an enclosed space with hard surfaces creating subtle echoes, possibly a cave or building. But despite apparently originating from a remote, possibly underground location, the call had crystal clear quality with no static or interference. The technical quality is actually superior to most cell phone calls, noted audio specialist Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. If Tyler was truly lost in remote wilderness, we would expect significant signal degradation. Spectral analysis revealed subtle harmonic distortions that don't occur in normal human speech, suggesting the audio had been processed through electronic filtering. The FBI established a dedicated tip line and offered a $100,000 reward for information. Special Agent Patricia Williams summarized the investigation. The physical evidence doesn't add up to any conventional explanation. 3 experienced hikers don't simply vanish without a trace, leaving behind perfectly preserved equipment that should have degraded over 3 years of wilderness exposure. To this day, no remains have been found, no signs of the others, no evidence of injury, foul play, or wildlife involvement. The equipment in the backpack should have saved them, yet it hadn't even been touched. The working theory? There isn't one. Some say they fell into an unmapped cave system. Others believe the satellite phone and call were part of an elaborate hoax. But the hikers who found the backpack had a different take. "We weren't supposed to find it," Lexi later told a reporter. "Whatever put it there wanted us to see it." But some discoveries raise more questions than answers. What do you make of the satellite phone or the call? If you were in that forest and found a bag like this, would you open it? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that don't add up, no matter how many times you try to explain them.